Hi, I'm Tony, and welcome to my channel, Watch Time LA. Hello folks, and welcome to a new episode of Watch Time LA. Today we're going to be discussing a Bulova watch, but before we do that, I wanted to mention a couple of things. I haven't had a video in about a month or more because I had to help a friend who became very ill and passed away. He's a very good friend of mine. I got to spend a very emotional but happy couple of days with him before he passed, and then I had to, it was a few hundred miles away, so I had to run back and forth there, and then that's been occupying a lot of my time. And also, it's been, no other way to put this, hotter than hell here in Southern California. I'm about to flash the temperature gauge on my car the other day. It has been triple digits day after day. One of those years where you walk on the pavement in dress shoes and you can feel your feet start to burn if you don't start moving within just a couple of seconds. With that out of the way, there was one last thing. Because of the sweltering heat, I have my air conditioning unit going in my garage, which is extremely loud, and that's what you hear behind me, and unfortunately it's either that or no videos. So, with all of that out of the way, let's get into the watch. Before I open the box and do a very fast unboxing and talk to you a little bit about Bulova. Bulova started out as a company in the mid-1800s. They started making watches in 1919. They made all kinds of various watches and for different levels of consumer. But when the quartz craze came around in the 60s, late 50s, early 60s, mid 70s, Bulova got into it all in. And they started producing a lot of very, for the common man, as Trump would say, kind of watches, and competed with Timex heavily. In fact, there was a time when everyone owned either a Timex or Bulova. Bulovas were more likely to be on a woman's wrist than a men's wrist, but certainly they sold millions of, tens of millions of men's watches in that time too. They never really recovered from the stigma of making inexpensive watches. So as the watch market went up and down over the years, they tried to stay with what made them money, which was the low-end watches, and they became kind of like a brand that was, that was what the brand was thought of. It wasn't a good watch, it wasn't a bad watch, it was just kind of a watch. It became a Timex. In fact, it became a lot less popular than Timex too over time. And all other kinds of watch brands came up, including Seiko, which I think took over that mid-level market pretty well and kind of pushed Bulova off to the side. Although Bulova's still making watches. In 2010, Bulova came out with a new kind of watch. They wanted to get into kind of like tug on the luxury market purse strings and see if they can get into it, but with a quartz watch. Now, I've said it in a lot of videos, I'm not a watch snob. I don't care if I'm wearing a $5 watch or a $500 watch. It doesn't matter to me as long as I like it, and it shouldn't matter to you either. There's a lot of people that won't be caught dead wearing a quartz watch, but this one's a little bit different, and we'll get into it now. First, let's talk about the box. It's a box. Outside layer, but right after we get out of that, I have to say that this box, if we were just judging this between a mid-level Bulova and a Seiko, Citizen, and a lot of the other boxes, models, Bulova and this box would take them all. It would win right here, hands down. It's a very handsomely designed box, has a nice texture on it. It has a spring-loaded cover, as you see, and it has the famous tuning fork. The watch is, as you see it right here, in a very nice Elvis style velvet case. And the front door pops down like this. Sorry, I'm a little too close for comfort here. And before you pop that out, you have the Bulova. It's in, I don't know how many different languages, the Bulova booklet, and basically tells you how to set the time and date. And it does come with a 3-year warranty, which is kind of unusual and definitely a little added bonus when you consider 99% of the watches come with a 1-year warranty. If you bought it from Amazon, Amazon will automatically give you an extra year. So keep that in mind. But because this Bulova comes with 3 years, it doesn't really matter. You have a 3-year warranty. So back to the box. A lot of boxes that you get, the pillows just fall out. This one is very snug in there. Came with our, our Bulova tag. That is the model number. And the watch comes on a simulated alligator leather strap, but it is certainly a leather strap. I'm done with the box, by the way. You want to see some of that other information on here. On first inspection of the watch, it's actually, for a dress watch, it looks very, very nice. The dial is a mix between black and a dark gray, and you could probably see the swirls. I'll try and get as close as I can and stay in focus. You can probably see those swirls on there, which give it a really, really nice texture. You know, first appearance for a dress watch, I think it looks fantastic. Genuine leather band. The Bulova tuning fork. I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a minute. And give me a second here. We're going to set up for a shot doing the specs. Okay, for the specifications, let's start with the MSRP. The MSRP on this watch is $299. You can currently find it on Amazon for $168. I'll tell you what I paid for it later in the video. As far as a movement, it is a quartz movement. It is a quartz Precisionist movement. It is proprietary to Bulova. It has a, they say, a 42 millimeter case diameter. Let's see what we get. We have 41.58. They say they have a 9 millimeter width, which is exactly right. What they don't say is how wide the watch is with the crown. So with the crown we have 44.3, a little bit large for a dress watch, but it doesn't wear that large at all. It wears much, much smaller. And let's do a lug to lug. 47.21. We have a mineral glass crystal. It is all stainless steel construction. It is 30 meters water resistant, which isn't very much, but you know, you're not going to go scuba diving in this watch. With this watch, I'm sorry. I have another Bulova watch. I believe it has the same exact alligator band on it, and I will tell you right now, I'm not a fan of either. But you know, it's certainly, you know, it's a sign band and whatever, but it certainly will get the job done. I don't do the white glove thing. I tried it once, felt like a moron doing it. So, by the way, a lot of other people look great doing it. I just didn't feel right doing it. Plus, the white gloves I had looked more like snow mittens than they did white gloves. So, I wasn't going to go out looking for anything else. The all steel construction and the polishing of the bezel are done extremely well. I will go as far as saying flawless to the naked eye. Now, as you know, we're going to be doing some close-ups. The knurled crown makes it extremely easy to move. When you pull out the crown to adjust the date, you get a really positive feel and feedback from the hands. Unlike most quartz watches, which kind of flop around when you do this, this is extremely, I'm using the word tight, not in a bad way, but in a good way. It has a tight feel to it. I don't know how else to explain it. Unlike any other quartz watch that I have felt. When you click in, let's see. There's well, I missed it again. Okay, so there's your date. The date spins very well. By the way, if you pull it out one click, it's much easier than trying to push it in and find that detent. This one is very easy to find. Again, it feels very fluid. There is absolutely no, by the way, it only goes one direction, as you see. It feels very fluid, and it locks in exactly on the date. You know how some of them tend to go a little bit up or a little bit down? This is dead center. The indices are all, I don't know whether they're metal or plated plastic or what they are, but they're highly polished, and there are little lume dots all the way around on each of the 12 indices, and there is a little bit of lume on the hands. We'll do a lume shot later, and you can make your own decision about the lume on this watch. The back, after I wipe off my greasy paw prints, is all stainless steel, and I think they just missed one thing on this watch, for me anyway. They did not make a screw down case back. I think that would have went a long way to making this watch a little bit more water resistant. They have their signature Precisionist logo, kind of looks like the Infinity logo, and the Bulova tuning fork. I said I was going to mention that again later on. I had the opportunity to buy one of these, one of the earlier ones that was used. One of the earlier ones, instead of having Bulova here, had the tuning fork here. And I really wanted to get that watch, but over the last couple of years, they removed the tuning fork and put Bulova up here. And I had the thing on eBay. I had it all set up. I was ready to pay all the money for it. And I don't know whether I got a phone call or what happened, but in the last 3 minutes, I got outbid by like $2, and I was pissed. So I went online and I bought it for myself, brand new on Amazon. We do have the tuning fork on the buckle. You can see I've already put it I think that's a nice scratch I've already put in there. Not wiped off. But one of the things you're going to see when I put this under the scope, the day that I got this, I put it on early in the morning. Came from Amazon. Put it on the wrist and just kind of was hanging out. It was a do-nothing Sunday. My neighbor called me up and said, hey, could you come over and take a look at something? Next thing you know, I'm drilling holes and using power tools, and I forgot I had it on. And I put two really nasty scratches in the crystal. Hard to see here, but when we do the close-ups, you'll see it. Okay, so let's talk about what's so special about this quartz watch. Well, first of all, if you take a note, on the right I have a Tissot. It is a Tissot Visodate, which costs at least twice what the Bulova costs as far as MSRP goes, maybe 3 times as much. However, if you look at the second hand, you will see, and pay close attention, side by side, you will see that this ETA movement in the Tissot beats approximately 6 times per second. And you could see the little tick, 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 ticks. Take a look at the Bulova Precisionist. This is a quartz watch, which beats 16 times per second. Let's calculate that out. That's 960 beats per minute, or 57,658 beats per hour, which is roughly twice the frequency of of this ETA 2824, which beats at 28,800 beats per hour. So for those people who say they love the sweep of a mechanical watch, well, I don't think you're going to get one with a smoother sweep than this. Even the Seiko spring drive is about half the frequency, or actually probably about a third less than the frequency of this Bulova. The watch, because of the frequency and is beating at the rate that it does, compared to the Tissot, which could be plus or minus 5-10 seconds per day, the Bulova is claimed, anyway, to be off at about 10 seconds per year. I read a review, an independent review on the Bulova Precisionist, where a gentleman who did check the watch over a 4-month period, it was off 3 seconds. Now, again, I know I love mechanical watches too. I love everything about them. I love the inside. I love how, all the engineering that goes into them. But if you're someone who doesn't look inside of a watch and just wants the smoothest sweeping second hand and one of the most accurate timepieces in production in the world today, then you'd be hard pressed to find. In fact, you'd have to tell me what it is, other than an atomic clock that is more accurate and beats smoother than this Bulova Precisionist. So how much did I pay for this watch that's orders of magnitude more accurate than the Tissot and has a smoother sweeping second hand than probably anything that you're likely to find? I paid $138 on Amazon for it. Free shipping, of course. So what's next? We're going to dive deep into the watch. We're going to take the back off and look at the inside of a Precisionist, and also look at the fit and finish, as I call it, on the dial, as well as the hands, calendar markers, and all the other little things that you just can't see with the naked eye. Okay, so the first thing we notice when we look inside the Precisionist is that all you really see for the movement is an enormous Maxell CR2016 battery cell. Now, unlike all other quartz watches, or I should say most other quartz watches, this is a 3-volt battery. Most quartz watches have a 1.55 volt battery. In the instruction manual, it's very clear. It says, if your watch dies, do not leave it lying around for fear of the battery might leak. And there's a myth that only alkaline batteries leak, and I can confirm with multiple examples that all batteries eventually will leak, especially if they're not in the proper storage type of situation as far as heat goes. So there's really nothing to look at this movement. Sometimes you can see the stepper motors and a couple of other gears and wheels. In this particular case, the battery takes up the entire watch movement. The white thing you see there is simply a spacer between the movement and the case. There you see the very nicely knurled crown. And we're going to start looking at the case, and most of that, what you see now, is dust. You see some of the finish on there, and you're going to see something that's really going to pop out at you here. This, unfortunately, is something that I am not proud of, but what happened here was this was the most difficult watch case I have ever opened, bar none. I used the same tool I use on every other watch. I saw that it was getting very difficult to open, and I just kept prying and prying and prying, which I would have had to do at some point anyway, but this is what the result was on the side of the watch. There are a couple of tools that say that they avoid this. The tool I have is pretty darn good at avoiding this, but this son of a gun would not come out. So barring this mark and those scratches you see there that I put in. The rest of the finish is quite good. Now I'm going to flip this thing. Oh, there's a little piece of fuzz I got to get out of there. I'm going to flip this thing over. We'll take a look at the watch face. Now the Bulova, oh by the way, while we're doing this, take a look at how smooth that second hand is. Quite amazing. So if you want just the appearance of having a mechanical watch and something that's done fairly well, I mean, this is your guy. Let's take a look at the indices. You can see the indices. This is where you start seeing quality issues in some of the watches that don't go into the thousands of dollars. And I'm going to point them out to you here. You can see here on the sides of these indices, these little imperfections. That's inside the watch. Same thing here. Same thing there. There are a few little tiny issues with the hands, but what I really like is this little offset here, which is, oops, this little offset here, which is the Precisionist logo on the other side of the second hand. It's very cool. Here's where it talks about 262 kilohertz. As we take a look at the date, you'll see this is better than 95% of the watches that I've reviewed so far. The date is applied crisp and clear. There's virtually no bleed in the lettering on the date wheel. This so far is the best one I've seen, and I've looked at countless watches. Again, some of the scratches you see there, in fact all of the scratches you see there, is because I was a knucklehead and I started working with this watch in someone's garage and just completely forgot I had it on. So you can't see any of this with the naked eye, but you will notice these two very nice scratches right here on the crystal. I did that on the first day that I owned it. So that's it for the close. By the way, there's a look at the dial. Very handsome dial, very well done. As good as any I've seen at any price range. So here's a Lume shot. I'm going to be using my Seiko 5 as my general comparing watch. It's not the best Lume, but it is pretty good compared to many other watches. So I'm going to use this. Let's see what it looks like. So there is, and you're going to see that on the left-hand side, that's going to fade pretty quickly. They were both exposed to very high LED lighting, and the Seiko 5, the clear winner, and the Bulova, well, kind of just looks like a couple of distant stars in a cloudy night. And we're going to do a wrap up here in a second. So while I do this wrist shot here, I wanted to get a couple of business things out of the way. I do have an eBay store where I sell very inexpensive watches, all fashion watches for the most part, except for one Seiko that I have on there right now. And the money I get from that, I just use to perpetuate the hobby. You can find watches as low as $10. You know, if you're getting something for a gift for a family, whatever, I completely gut the watches, clean them, put them in a ultraviolet sterilizer, and make sure that they work, and they have a brand new battery for the most part, the battery operated ones anyway. I'm also in line with Amazon, and you'll find a link to this watch, an Amazon link that will benefit me as well if you're so inclined to purchase this watch. As far as, by the way, this sounds like it's self-serving, but I swear to you it is not. On a scale of 1 to 10, This watch I give a clear 8.5. It checks all the boxes. If you're one of those who like a sweeping second hand, I don't know what smoother second hand you're going to get than that. The dial, if I can get my hair off of it, dial has a very nice pattern on it, has a date feature. The battery should last at least a year. And I will tell you one other thing. I mentioned that it took me a long time to get the watch case back off. And putting it on was like a monkey wrestling an octopus. It was extremely difficult. Probably the most difficult watch case I've ever had to put back on. That being said, if they had a screw down crown, this watch would go from 30 meters to 300 meters right away. Anyway, this is my review of the Bulova Precisionist. It's an excellent watch, highly recommended, and I want to thank you for viewing my channel, and I hope that you like it enough that you subscribe, because your subscriptions keep me going. If you have any comments or questions, please put them below, and I promise you I will return every single request that I get via your comments. If you like the video, let me know. This is Tony from Watch Time LA. I hope you enjoyed it.